My feeling is this. You always can tell. In fact, one thing that I kind of go by is actions speak a whole hell of a lot louder than words. And there's sometimes words justify or bring credence to action. And what do I mean by that? When the news when the news came out that Jeff Saturday, who by the way has absolutely no head coaching experience outside of coaching high school football, got the interim head coach job for the Indianapolis Colts. It was, I guess, a stunning development for the sports world. It's like, wait, Jeff Saturday, where did this come from? Not only was there viable coaches that were already on the Indianapolis Colts staff, but there's a lot of coaches that were good enough to do this job, but you gave to Jeff Saturday. And when I say that words sometimes justify or solidify actions or justify actions, Jim Irsay pretty much was, he didn't say it verbatim. What he pretty much said in the introduction press conference was, Jeff's my guy. And I'm glad that he doesn't have any coaching experience. Like, excuse me? It's not just a white and black thing, but I do think it is interesting. I figured it out when Jim Irsay said pretty much Jeff Saturday is my guy, which is why he got the job. I got it. That is why. It's not because people hate black people that a lot of these African American, Keith Armstrong, Leslie Frazier, Eric Bieniemy, Todd Bowles. Well, Todd Bowles. Marquise Drayton. It's not because they don't think that these people can get the job done. It's just like corporate America, bro. They're always going to hire their own. They're always going to hire their buddies. They're always going to hire their people. The problem is we never get into position to be their people. There's no way in heaven or hell Jeff Saturday, as great of a person he is, should be the interim head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. And you hear a lot of people say, but what about the Rooney Rule? Which I also think is kind of crazy that the Rooney Rule doesn't pertain to interim head coach status, just full head coach. So I hear a lot of people say, but what about, remember when they trashed Steve Kerr? Remember when, they didn't know what Steve Kerr was going to be. And now look, okay. First and foremost, Steve Kerr was a GM before being a head coach. He also was a 6-7 time NBA champion before being a head coach. Also, he coached Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. That's what you're coaching. So yeah, he's a little successful. Oh, he also had Kevin Durant for two or three of those years. This Jeff Saturday hire was bad. And it was bad, and it was bad because you heard Jeff. If you watched the introduction press conference, Jeff said he has to win not only he has to win over his players and the coaches, because it's like you're looking at a person. These coaches have been in the organization for a good minute. Oh, and this is also off the backs of Frank Reich getting fired. And that's something that we kind of saw coming. Like I said, it's been disappointing. You've had three different quarterbacks in the last 3 years, and it hasn't worked. And of course, we've always said with the Colts, well, if they're just a quarterback away. Well, you had Carson Wentz, you had Matt Ryan, now you have Sam Ehlinger, you had Phillip Rivers. On top of that, the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay spent the most amount of money in the offseason on the offensive line. And now if you look, the offensive line is one of the worst units in football. And that is even with Quentin Nelson, who a lot of people think is a first ballot Hall of Famer and the best offensive lineman in the league. But there were multiple coaches on this coaching staff that were good enough and probably felt they deserved to be that interim head coaching job. So now you look up and you have Jeff Saturday who comes in and is like, what? You're telling me that a guy just based off relationship is more qualified than somebody that's been in the trenches or look, been with the organization and goes to practice every day and draws up schematics, draws up game plans. Owners are going to do what they want to do, bro. That's just what's going to happen. You can't expect someone that's spending billions upon billions on teams to conform to anything. Which is why I always said the Rooney Rule is the stupidest thing in the world. It's unfortunate that we have to have it, but it's the dumbest thing in the world because there's no way you're going to tell billionaires how to spend their money. There's no way you can tell anybody how to spend their money. The only people that can tell you how to spend your money is the IRS. And that's like, yo, you're spending it to give it to me. Again, man, and I can't say this enough. I'm happy for Jeff Saturday. I hope he's successful. But with me being happy for him, because I kind of know him personally, I also understand that this is a slap in the face to all the black qualified NFL black coordinators. And it's not just qualified coordinators, whether black or white. This is a slap in the face. This is a slap in the face to the players because you're pretty much telling the players we're punting on the season. Like, of course, you could kind of tell as the players, but this is confirmation that we don't really care how the season goes. I would understand if you brought in Jeff Saturday to be the offensive line head coach. I get that. He was offensive line for Peyton Manning in the Indianapolis Colts, one of the best offensive linemen ever. I get that. I understand that. His passion for football is cool. He knows a lot about football. So I understand, but to make him the head, to you know what this is like? You ever seen that person that, boom, the person that does the bare minimum, if anything, and then you look up and they're promoted? Like, wait, what the hell? And then you're over here just like busting your ass and you can't elevate at all. That's what this is like. This is a slap in the face to a lot of people, which is why a lot of people are stunned. And of course, you're going to hear, well, we have to look at the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule is some BS, bro. Because again, there's no way in heaven and hell you can tell an owner how to spend a billionaire how to spend their money. And just like we saw with Jeff Saturday, which is always going to happen, it's just they're never going to say it. They're always going to hire their people. The people that they are more comfortable with, and it just so happened not to be black all the time. You know, every year, right? No, Todd Bowles, it was Brian Leftwich. You know, every year we talk about Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach. Brian Leftwich should be a head coach. Yet and still, whether it's interim or not, whether they extend him after the season or not, you pick someone up that has absolutely no college or NFL head coaching experience. And if for people that say, well, what about the high school experience? You think high school football is the same as NFL football? If that's the case, that's disrespectful to NFL players. What this move signifies, what this move tells people is that, let's just speak on Jim Irsay and the Colts. Jim Irsay thinks that a person that has absolutely no head coaching experience is more qualified to do a job than someone like Eric Bieniemy, than someone like Brian Leftwich, than someone like Maurice Dayton. Someone like Brian Flores. What you're saying is a guy that has no experience is better suited to put your team in the right direction than someone that has an abundance of experience. You remember Brian Flores completely turned around the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Saturday is going to be the face of this situation because he's in it. But it's not just him. You remember they were trying to hire what's the dude's name, bro? Josh McCown. I think the Texans were about to hire Josh McCown, who has absolutely no, I don't even think he has high school coaching experience. They were about to hire him for a head coaching job. But because I had so much backlash, it was like, we can't do that. We can't do that. Jim Irsay just said, to hell with we can't do. I'm doing what I want to do. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world because it happens all the time. Which is why you see more black coordinators than head coaches. And that's always, it doesn't matter what Rooney, anything that you impose. This same situation is always going to happen. Always going to happen. Jeff Saturday has absolutely no credentials in being a head coach. The only thing he has is won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, a really good offensive lineman, really good friends with Jim Irsay, really close to the Colts organization. They had the nerve to say he came to a couple of training camps in the year 2000. I had to look it up real quick. I was like, wait, what year is this? Oh, 2022. So 2 years ago? I feel bad for the coaches that are already on that staff that feel, and rightfully so, should feel that they deserved to be at least the interim head coach. I feel bad for people like Eric Bieniemy because this just shows here that it don't give it doesn't matter what you do, bro. Eric Bieniemy is one of the best offensive coordinators, if not the best offensive coordinator in the game, and he's been that for a while. And he's always, we're gonna bring in Eric Bieniemy for an interview, and never matriculates anything. People say, well, Jay, you killed Nathaniel Hackett and you killed, Josh McDaniels, and say that there's people that are just as good. Or no, there's people that are head coaches and there's people that are coordinators. And how do we know that Eric Bieniemy and Brian Leftwich are not are going to be good coaches? And my answer is simple, bro. The reason why we know people like Nathaniel Hackett and Josh McCown, in my opinion, not Josh McCown, Josh McDaniels, are better coordinators and head coaches because they have an opportunity to be a head coach. And we see, yeah, man, they're not getting the job done. Eric Bieniemy has not had that opportunity to be a head coach yet. So we may never know if he's good enough to be, or if he's not good enough to be a head coach because he doesn't get the opportunity. Brian Leftwich doesn't get the opportunity. And you know what's the crazy part? People like Brian Flores, who had the opportunity and succeeded. David Culley had the opportunity, succeeded. Still getting him up out of there. Yet and still, Jeff Saturday, who has absolutely no credentials. That's like me. That's like me getting hired to be the supervisor for Dell, or supervisor for Microsoft. I don't know nothing about computers, but that's like me. Hey, I know the boss, so just make me a supervisor. And that's even before. That means that's my first job. That's like I'm not an intern. I'm not a sales associate. I'm nothing. I'm just Jalen one day, Microsoft supervisor the next. Don't you think people be looking at me a little sideways? Like, wait, how did he get the job? What is his credentials? And you look and I have absolutely nothing. Like, wait, you're telling me his last job was working at Taco Bell? Yeah. How the fuck? You know what I'm saying? There are people that don't get opportunity to prove they're good head coaches or not. And there's people like Jeff Saturday who don't need credentials to get where they are. And that's the way of the land. It's unfortunate that it happened to Jeff. As far as, not happen. It's unfortunate that Jeff is the face of this. Because he's a pretty cool dude. I'm not going to lie to you. But he is the face of this. And as much as cool of a dude he is as an ESPN analyst, or former ESPN analyst at this time, I do think that this is just a microcosm of what it's like being a black coordinator in the NFL. They're always going to look at you as a coordinator, no matter how good you are. And they'll always look at you as, until somebody goes out on a limb and gives you a shot, even though your credentials say that you deserve and you're overqualified for a shot. Until somebody jumps off that ledge and gives you a shot. People like Jeff Saturday will always be one step ahead. Not because they deserve it, but because of who they know. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.